Let's talk to Simon Danchuk now, though, former Labour MP and Reform defector, it says here. Simon, very good morning to you.
Good morning. It's good to be with you, man.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us on this auspicious occasion, just a few days short of the anniversary of 1 year of Labour government, Simon. And it's been an absolute shambles, isn't it? We're calling it 12 months of chaos here.
It really has. I mean, Starmer's had an absolute terrible 12 months. The country's had a terrible 12 months. I mean, his leadership has been found to be failing, and all that comes to a head, as you say, on Saturday. It's exactly 1 year since they won the general election. But tonight it'll be the vote on the disability benefits issue, and he's really struggling on this. It sort of encapsulates the problems that he's had over the last 12 months.
Right, and you know, for all of his standing tough and talking about wanting to fight for what he believes is right, you know, he then goes away and does his kind of international statesman thing in Canada for the G7. Then he's over in the Netherlands for NATO. And even Brian Abbott's seen through it. She's going, you know, is he seriously going to expect us to believe that he didn't know that the welfare bill remedies were unpalatable by the backbench MPs because he was abroad?
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. He's not on top of his brief, is he? And this all comes about because Rachel Reeves has failed to balance the books. And so they've had to lop billions off the benefits bill. Now, we all agree that we need some radical reform of the benefit system, no doubt about that. But just top slicing money off it, taking it off disabled people, is not the answer. What is really interesting here, Mike, is that you can see people jockeying for position. Starmer has had to come out and say this is not a vote of confidence in him. Right. Well, I think it is. You've got literally dozens of Labour MPs who are going to vote against this tonight. And a second reading of legislation hasn't been lost by a government since 1986. If he loses this, he's significantly on the way out. I mean, there's no doubt
I don't think there's any question. I mean, I read a piece last night in which it quoted an MP, a Labour MP, who said this doesn't feel like somebody standing up to the opposition in his party. It feels like the end of days. It feels like somebody who's wholly just focused on gripping onto power when it's literally ebbing away from his very fingernails. Andy Burnham is voting against, is advising people to vote against it. Sadiq Khan doing the same thing. You know, it's very clear that the wolves are circling, aren't they?
Oh, no doubt about that. And if you take those two examples, Andy Burnham and Sadiq Khan, you might think, well, they need to be MPs before they can challenge for the leadership. But, you know, I follow the minutiae of Labour Party politics so that you and your listeners don't have to. But Andrew Gwynn, you'll recall, with the Trigger Me Timbers WhatsApp group, he's a Greater Manchester MP. He could well resign because of that issue. He's already been made independent. If he goes, and he's very close to Burnham, then Burnham could fight the by-election in that seat. Yes. And then in terms of Sadiq Khan, if you look at Tulip Sadiq, who's had real problems as the MP for Hampstead and Highgate in terms of allegations of corruption around a wider family in Bangladesh, then if she goes, then Sadiq Khan would easily fight that seat, and they're close as well. So these people are jockeying in for position. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at what Starmer said when he was at the G7. I mean, it seems like an age ago now, an eon ago, and when he had a very, very different view of his position.
Well, we need to drive through reform in the welfare system. It's not working for anyone. It's not a confidence vote. It's a vote. It's a vote about reform. It like that. It's about a vote about reform of our welfare system. It isn't working. It doesn't help people into work. Quite the contrary.
See, he sounds still quite arrogant and quite sort of stick in the mud like, which is part of his problem, because when we were looking at all of this last week when he was away, you know, Labour MPs were saying, we don't know him, we don't see him, you know, he doesn't hang out in the tea room, he doesn't talk to people. It's almost as though, you know, ordinary Labour MPs are beneath him. Some have not even yet met him.
Yeah, that's right. And contrast that with some of the previous Labour Prime Ministers. You know, you would, I understand, regularly see Tony Blair walking through the voting lobby. Yeah. And that's a chance for backbench MPs to have a word with the leader, to cosy up to them, or to, you know, offer some constructive criticism. But Starmer hasn't even been going through the voting lobby.
No, he's only done it 7 times, apparently.
Yeah, he hasn't been voting for his own legislation. Yeah. And all this stuff makes a massive difference. And so he's been failing in terms of, rallying the troops within the Parliamentary Labour Party. And now it's all coming on to roost. And I have to say, I made this point to a Labour colleague, a Labour guy, recently. I mean, when you see him speaking like you do there, he doesn't look like he's in full control. He looks like he's beginning to lose control of his situation. He really does.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, when Dan Hodges, who was a pretty good Labour loyalist over time, writes in the Mail today, it's the most cack-handed, incompetent welfare bill in living memory, and that's just the headline. He talks about Liz Kendall's performance yesterday. Virtually every penny of her £5 billion saving has vanished, right? So they're not going to get any benefit from that really whatsoever. When she was asked yesterday how all of these U-turns would be funded, she couldn't answer. MPs were told, we'll deal with that at the next fiscal event. And the trouble is, like many things that they've set out to do, they found that halfway through it, they couldn't do it. So they've had to U-turn and go, we're not going to bother with that now. We're going to go and do something else. But they don't have an answer. They don't have a solution to where they're going to get this money from, which has already been fed into the system.
That's exactly right. It's all about the money. They're just trying to make dramatic cuts. And the irony is, they came into government saying, well, we've found this £22 billion black hole. It's took 12 months and Rachel Reeves has created a giant black hole of her own making. Well, and this is part of the solution.
It's now about 10 times bigger, isn't it? Because, I mean, she borrows about 20 billion a month just to keep the payments up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And it's almost in November that she was saying, listen, she was saying in the city, there will be no more tax rises.
Yeah.
That will not stand now. There's going to have to be tax rises because she's run the economy that badly. It's a really desperate, serious situation, in actual fact.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there are people who worry as well about the fiscal possibilities that might afflict the country in the coming months, because it's not entirely out of the question that because of the high level of borrowing and because of the low level of growth, that this country was going to become going to get to a sort of fiscal crisis very shortly.
Yeah, people are talking about that more and more, and this is what they're trying to fend off. But we have a Prime Minister and a Chancellor that are on the ropes, to say the least, and that's within their own party, never mind the wider public. This is the most unpopular Prime Minister Britain has ever had at this stage in an electoral cycle. I think he'll struggle to last 12 months. I really do think that.
Yeah, absolutely right. But we'll watch with interest and see. I mean, I still think there's a chance that they could either lose the vote altogether tonight because the amount of rebellion is even bigger than they think, or he gets cold feet at the last minute, and even though he's going to have to suffer the slings and arrows of doing it, he just pulls the vote altogether.
I think that's possible. I think there were 126 rebels at one stage, and now that's down to about 50 odd.
Yeah.
But that's not nailed on. I think, as you were suggesting, the number of rebels will continue to increase throughout the day, and the vote's possibly not until about 7 p.m.
Right.
And if it's looking desperate, he'll be keeping in touch with the whips. As you said, they might well pull the legislation.
Yeah.
That'd be exceptionally embarrassing for the government.
It would, because every time he opens his mouth, he makes it worse. I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? Simon, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Simon Danchuk there, former Labour MP, literally telling us that Keir Starmer has got the skids under him. I said this to you many, many months ago. People have said to me on social media, you say it every month. Yeah, but you can see the progress that he's made. You can see how difficult his time has been. It started bad and fell away, as my father used to explain.